Well, a very good morning to you. I hope I find you well. I'm Jenny Kirk. Welcome back to the channel up here on the loft on Weir Yard. And today, well, I thought we'd do something really just a little bit different. And this is building on the review that we did on the Hornby Basset Loc steampunk locomotives. Now, don't worry, we're not doing anything steampunk related per se, but this locomotive is going to be the test bed for something that I've always really wanted to know, and that is, how long will a model railway locomotive actually run for if you just leave it to run? Now, it's a bit of a pondery actually. When you add up all the times that your model locomotives have actually run, how long does that actually add up to? And what would happen if you just kept going and kept going and kept going, and in fact kept going until the magic smoke came out? Would the magic smoke come out? I don't know. But leave your predictions in the comments section down below. It'd be really interesting to hear from you. What do you think? How long will one of these 040 railroad style chassis, just take the top off there, how long will one of these actually go for? Now, they're universally regarded as being very, very simple, very, very reliable. There's almost nothing to go wrong on one of these. So how long will it run for? Today, we're going to find out, and I have no idea how this is going to turn out. This is my victim, test subject. I'm going to be using the Hornby steampunk locomotive that Hornby very kindly sent over. Did a review on this. It inspired me to do my own creative build. But the reason I want to use this is it's actually a bulletproof, reliable, very simple locomotive. There's no PCB on there. There's no DCC decoder. It really is the bare bones of the motor and chassis. And I'm going to be running it on these DCC Concepts rolling road on my DC test track. And the reason for this is that the locomotive doesn't have to trundle around a track. We're not beholden to dead spots, derailments, dirty track, anything like that. And I'm going to be powering it off my Gauge-Master Model D controller. Now, I am going to just try and take the top off there, and this will expose the inside so we can just really see what is going on. And I am also going to give it a little bit of a helping hand. I'm going to use some super lube just to lubricate any moving parts, just to make sure that it doesn't actually just shred itself, because the plan is that this is going to run and run, and I'm just going to see how well it keeps running. Giving it a quick going over with that lubrication just on anywhere where we've got metal on metal contact on the valve gear at the side there. And for some reason it's not showing up particularly well on the camera. Must be the contrast between the ballast and the darkness of the locomotive. But I'm going to turn the power up to, let's give it 40%. So that's a good steady, not too stupidly fast speed. And so the time now, just after 25 to midnight. I'm going to leave it running and running and running, and it's just interesting to see just how reliable these locomotives are. I'll come back up following morning now, and let's just check on the time. So we've got 8:15 in the morning. This is now Monday, and as you can see in here, the mechanism is still going strong. If anything, it's actually smoother now, I guess because it's effectively run in. And it's testament to just how well made these motors and mechanisms are. They're cheap, they're cheerful, but that makes them super reliable. There's almost nothing to go wrong on these, so they really do just keep on chugging. So I've actually got every faith that this mechanism, if I left it all week, would still be here running this time next week. It remains to be seen whether I'm going to do that yet, but I'm certainly going to let this just run continuously for an impressive length of time. So we've got coming up on 9 hours, I think it is, on the clock, and still going strong. We're finally back up here in the loft and we're prepping up for the Monday Club. So the cupboard monkey's messing about with the computer, which this close to Monday Club actually happening is always a bad idea. So we've got the cupboard monkey here, stuffing her face, looking all embarrassed because she wasn't expecting me to film her. But down here, see, it's still chugging away, and you'll be able to see this on the Monday Club. And maybe we should start taking bets as to how long people think that this will just keep running and keep running. I've checked in with DCC Concept and they say that the rollers are absolutely fine for this kind of punishment. So it's really a case of, I think it's the brushes in the motor will have a lifetime. At some point they will wear out, and I haven't actually yet contacted Hornby to double check what the projected lifespan is. But it'll just be interesting to see just how long we can get this to run for. I think we'll probably give it a week at most. If it's still running at the end of the week, then I think it's survived the ordeal. And that in itself will be incredibly impressive. But there we are, all still running. And you'll be able to see this all through the live stream, which by the time you see this video, actually, it suddenly occurs to me, you will have already seen it. So we're going to check back in with that at the end of the live stream and we'll see how it's doing. We've just finished the live stream on the Monday, so you can see on the clock there we've got 9:15. We've been done for about 5 minutes, and all the way through the live stream, those of you who watched it tonight will have noticed I did highlight it, but actually one of the things that's really struck me with this is that it's now running smoother as time goes by. This is smoother than when we started the live stream. It's, if anything, the performance has improved with around 24 hours running. It keeps on chugging, absolutely does. So we're going to get packed up now from the live stream, and I will leave this running overnight. It is going 24 hours a day. And will it get to the 7 days? I'm not going to let it go 7 days. I think at 5 days, it will be safe to say that if it's still running absolutely fine, then it deserves to take a break. But that really will be truly amazing. It's still going. I had to shuffle it round to the left a little bit. There was a build-up of like black oil that was coming down off the mechanism from when I'd initially oiled it. And the problem with that was that it was getting between the rolling roads and the track. So I shuffled it down a bit so it just got a little bit better electrical contact. And yeah, she's still going. Anyway, good night, and hopefully it'll still be running in the morning. Okay, it's the following morning, so we've got 8:30, and it has run through the night, but we've got a little bit of jerkiness starting to creep in. And actually, I think what might be happening is that the pickups are wearing out, that are dragging on the backs of the wheels. I did oil them, a little bit of oil. You can't put too much on, otherwise it does affect the electrical pickup. But we're certainly nowhere near as smooth as we were last night. I'm going to leave it running and see where we get to. Actually, the problem that we're getting, you can see this jerkiness is slowly getting worse. And if I push the chassis to one side, it does improve a lot. It really is the pickups that are wearing out on the backs of the wheels. Oops. So, yeah, it's definitely a pickup related issue. So, I think the motor is going to be absolutely fine. The drivetrain is going to be fine. Even the bushes are going to be fine. It's quite simply those pickups are just wearing, I think, on the backs of the wheels. So just to give it a little bit more of a chance, I'm actually going to increase the speed ever so slightly, just to make sure it doesn't stall. So now running at 50% power, and I shall leave it at that, see where we get to. So it's 9 o'clock and I've just rushed upstairs because this has happened. As you can see, it's definitely an electrical pickup problem. Definitely. I think it's worn through its pickups. I'm going to try something just to keep it going. I'm going to use the body just to pull it to one side, and yeah, it's running again. So this is definitely coming clear that the pickup's wearing out on the backs of those wheels. By forcing it to one side a little bit, I think what we've actually done is just move the position that those pickups are in on the wheel faces, or the backs of the wheels. So mechanically, absolutely sound as a pound. No hint of wear on the conrods, the worm gear, the wheel bushings. The motor itself, there's no squeal coming from that. There's no smells of ionized particles, which would indicate arcing with worn brushes. But it's just those wheel pickups seem to be the weak spot. Now, of course, if you were running this on a layout, because it would go around corners, it would change the stresses on the backs of the wheels on the pickups, and that would even out the wear. This is, in some ways, very, very cruel, because those pickups are stuck in one place, and we're really, really struggling now. So I think we're going to have to call time soon, and I'm quite surprised actually that, just give that a nudge, see if that helps. I'm very, very surprised. I actually thought it would go for a lot longer. Now I wonder, let me just give that a nudge. No, we're really struggling now. What I'm going to do is just pick it up, turn it around, see if that helps. Maybe, just maybe, I'm going to put it back the way around it was. Could it be that running it in reverse? Oh, it's not. There we go. Not quite so happy as it perhaps should be, but I have now changed the direction. So we're standing at, let's work it out, just over 31 hours, something like that. I've had to change the direction that it's running in just to stand a chance of keeping it running. And I guess this is fairly fair. You wouldn't just leave a locomotive running in one direction on what would amount to perfectly straight track for this length of time. So running it in reverse for some of it, yeah, go on, let's give it a whirl. It lasted all of a few minutes at the very most, and I'm inclined to actually call time perhaps. The motor and the drivetrain are absolutely fine. It's those pickups on the backs of the wheel. They're still there, I can still see them. There is a degree of a groove appearing on the backs of some of these wheels. Let me try and focus that in. Just about make out some of that grooving. The wheel treads themselves, lovely shine to them. That gear there was another potential weak spot, but there's no sign of wear or distortion on that. Ditto for the teeth on the worm. In terms of these pins, really they haven't actually worn at all, I have to say. Similar amount of slack to what they had when it was brand new. But we are pretty much at an end there, and it's purely a pickups issue. It's 4:05, and actually, as you can see in here, we're back up and running. And essentially, I just cleaned all of the gunk out of the pickups, cleaned the track to make sure we got a good contact between the rollers and the track, and she sprung back into life. and I give her a wobble, and it does seem that the pickups aren't worn out. They just managed to get absolutely filthy. So we're going to restart the clock at 4:05. So we've already got 33.5 hours on the clock. So we'll add 33.5 hours to whatever we get from 4 o'clock. We're back in business. I knew that there was more life in the old Hornby Railroad chassis design. Managed to get another 3 hours running under its belt, and it's still going strong. It just goes to show that keeping your pickups clean is really important. And a locomotive that stutters, doesn't really perform well, really, it could just be something as simple as dirt on those pickups. So it's just chugging away, and it's gone back to being a really smooth runner. Now I've laid out the body of the locomotive, and it's just pushing on the coupling, and that's just to even out some of the sideways pressure that the worm gear is exerting on the wheels. It just seemed to run a little bit smoother like that. So I'm just going to keep it running, and I think it does stand a chance of getting to the end of the week. It'd be really interesting to see. I was initially disappointed at that 33.5 hour before it conked the first time, but this is looking promising again. So let's leave it to it. It's 8:20 the next morning now, and actually it's got through the night pretty smooth. There's no sign of notchiness, no juddering. I'm actually pretty pleased on this. Gosh, it's so hard to focus on it. But I'm off to work now, so I'm going to leave it be for the day. It's now 7 o'clock in the evening, and back up here in Waryard after being out at work. And it's still running just fine. Really, really pleased and impressed with how this is doing. As you can see, still pretty smooth, no jerkiness, and it just keeps on chugging. Just going to look down there, try and get a good shot at the worm drive. And yeah, I'm really impressed with this. There doesn't seem to be any slop on the connecting rods, anything like that. And I'm just going to feel the motor. It's not even warm, it has to be said, not even warm. So I think that my initial guess that perhaps this would last all week and still be running is probably actually going to be true. I know we had that little hiccup with the dirty pickups, but now we've got past that, it really just is, it's going really strong. It's coming up to about 9:25 in the evening. I'm about to call it a night up here, but certainly this model has not called it a night. We're still going, and it's still silky smooth. There's no real signs of issues creeping in, no weird smells. I mean, we are running it at 40% power, so you can see there we're still on the 40%, and that's a lot kinder on these mechanisms. I mean, yeah, they'll go warp speed, but you probably start to get some flashover effects in there, which will really kill the brushes if you're trying to run it at a really high speed. I'm not going to do that. What I thought was it's a much fairer way of seeing how long would a mechanism last if you use it in a more responsibly normal sort of way. So I need to work out, actually, I think we're over 50 hours runtime on this motor. I think it's quoted as being 100 hours on the brush's design life in there. But certainly it'd be interesting to see how long it will last under a more normal operating kind of speed. And I'll see just where I get to, where I'm minded to. I think at some point I will just declare it an outright Uber winner. But at the moment I'm just letting it run. So I'm going to pack up now, going downstairs, and I'll come back to this in the morning. We're up here in the loft, and this is now Thursday. So Thursday morning, coming up on 10:25, and it's still running. I think it's got a little bit slower, but I couldn't attest to that. I'd have to look back at the footage. But certainly, there's no juddery to that. Yeah, it seems reasonably smooth. So I think we can safely say that there's still a lot of life left in this chassis and motor. I'd just like to quickly say though that one of the things that I have noticed when I test that, this is actually becoming warm. It wasn't warm before. These components on here are a bit warm, and I'm just going to feel the motor itself has actually become slightly warm. So I think that there is definitely something going on in this. So we'll just see where it gets to. But I think tomorrow will be the cut-off point. We'll decide tomorrow to actually call an end to the test, see how long it's run for, see if it still is running at the point that we end the test. But certainly we've gone way beyond what I've ever seen anybody else put these to the test with. So I think it's still a pretty good thumbs up. I'll have to stop and work out how long it's been going. I think it's 48, 4 o'clock this afternoon. It'll be 48 hours on the restart after I cleaned the pickups, and we had 30, I think it was 33.5 hours before that, so it's still pretty good. I think we're starting to get a little wisp of the magic smoke coming out. Just about, yeah, you can just about see that on the camera. It's getting worse, so I think it's safe to say that, yeah, it's slowed right down. Just trying to see, can we see that magic smoke? I can see it with my naked eye. It's coming out of that front bit of the motor. And we're still going, but I think that at, let's have a look now, we've got 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is Thursday. I don't think this is going to go until the cut-off point tomorrow. Certainly it's safe to say, yeah, there's definite smoke coming out of there. Temperature is quite high, and definitely on, well, I've just notched the power up a little bit to keep it running. And you can see, whoa, flash over. I think the brushes are completely shot. Oh gosh, that doesn't half smell. So I think that, right, we're now at 100% power. I think it's safe to say that we're not going to get right up to, oh, the smoke that's coming out is quite horrible. This is just too much for it. I can't, in all good conscience, just run this till it burns completely out. So I'm interested, actually. I'm going to change direction. Doesn't really want to run in reverse. Back to forwards. And we have finally called time at 3 o'clock on the Thursday. The motor has completely burnt out. So there we have it. Well, that was actually quite surprising. It did pretty well there. And I'd love to hear from you whether you've done something similar to this, or indeed if you've added up all of the combined mileage and runtime of your locomotives and come up with a figure of how long they've kept going for. Indeed, are they still going? And it'd be interesting at some point to take apart this motor and just see what has actually happened inside there to make it go wrong, because outwardly at least I thought that we'd see some degree of wear on the connecting rods, and we've not really seen that. On the worm gear and the gear on the axle, I thought we'd at least see that start to show signs of wear. and actually absolutely nothing. So it could even be something as simple as needing a clean. Now, we did a video on how to revive suspected burnt out locomotives just by cleaning the commutator, and I suspect that that could work for this. So I don't think that this is dead just yet, but certainly we saw some magic smoke escaping, and that's not normally a good sign. But watch this space, maybe we'll come back with a future video and just see what we can do with that locomotive. But it just remains time for me to say, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and also you can check us out over on Patreon and support the channel and help us to make more of the videos that you really want to see. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments section down below. But until next time, you take great care of yourself. And this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying bye for now. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon. And an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Offshore Allen, oorail.co.uk, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Peter Bolton, Brian and Dorothy Mudd, Gary Lewis, David Quinn, Sparky 107, George Botterini, Andy Finch, Chris Moss, Robert Steers, MD of San Juan Model Company and Grantline Products, Sam Yates, Dale Williams, John N from NC, NYMRish, Jonathan Foster, Peter, Graham Foster, Clifford Ison, Larry W. Grant, and Mo Henry. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.